On a cracked street, under a merciless sun, a woman burdened by her own struggles sees a child in peril, a disabled boy, trapped, tormented. Without a second thought, she rushes in, an act of pure, selfless kindness. She doesn't know he's the son of a billionaire. She doesn't know her simple compassion is about to unleash a chain of events that will transform not just her life, but an entire forgotten town. This is a story about the unexpected power of a single good deed and how it can bloom into a future no one dared to dream of. Before we see how this extraordinary story unfolds, let us know where you're watching from in the comments below. We love hearing from our viewers around the world. And don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring tales. The afternoon sun beat down on Oakhaven with a relentless, heavy hand, squeezing the air dry, making the narrow streets shimmer. Asphalt bled heat waves, causing distant houses to wobble like mirages. Cracked sidewalks crumbled underfoot, and every picket fence leaned wearily, as if the whole neighborhood had sighed its last dusty breath. Down one of these battered streets trudged Sarah Cole, her thin frame draped in a matted denim dress that clung to her damp skin. Her dark hair, tied back with a frayed blue scarf, bristled with stubborn curls escaping in every direction. Her calloused hands gripped two heavy canvas shopping bags, their weight pulling her shoulders forward, her steps slow and deliberate. Buddy, her old blind dog, padded faithfully behind, his claws clicking softly on the sun-baked pavement. Sarah's face, weathered by years of struggle, shone with sweat that traced slow trails down her temples. Yet within her tired eyes, a fire of fierce tenderness burned, a flame no hardship had managed to extinguish. The heat was a merciless weight. Even the cicadas shrieked their protest from the sagging branches of heat-stressed trees, their shrill chorus an invisible tide. She wiped her brow, adjusting the bags, already picturing the cool pitcher of sweet tea waiting at home. That's when she saw him. Up ahead, near the boarded-up, abandoned gas station, a boy sat in a battered wheelchair. His small frame seemed dwarfed by the large chrome chair, which looked almost too heavy for him to manage. Blonde hair, plastered to his forehead in damp clumps, a polo shirt, once crisp white, now stained dark with sweat, clung to his body. Circling him like vultures were two older boys, their laughter sharp and cruel, snapping like dry twigs in the still air. They taunted him, mimicking the squeak of his wheels, poking at the spokes with grubby fingers. The boy's face was a pale mask of terror, his wide, wild blue eyes darting frantically, searching for an escape that wasn't there. His thin, trembling hands clutched at the wheels, but the chair refused to budge, one side tilted awkwardly, stuck fast. His phone dangled uselessly from his lap, its black screen reflecting the pitiless sun. A jolt, sharp and electric, shot through Sarah's chest. She dropped her bags without a second thought, the thud of potatoes and canned goods spilling onto the ground, echoing faintly in the sudden silence that followed her furious shout. "You boys, get away from him, now!" Her voice, though strained from her own burdens, cracked through the thick, lazy air like a whip. The two bullies flinched, their mocking laughter dying instantly. They exchanged a quick, guilty glance, and without a word, scattered like dry leaves in a storm, their sneakers slapping against the concrete as they vanished into the heat haze. Sarah hurried forward, her own footsteps pounding the cracked sidewalk, her heart hammering against her ribs. She dropped to one knee beside the boy, reaching out, then stopping herself, afraid to frighten him further. "Hey now, it's all right, sugar," she murmured, her voice softening into a soothing coo. "Ain't nobody going to hurt you now." The boy, Leo, she would later learn his name was, shuddered, a ragged, hitched breath escaping his chest. His cheeks were streaked with salt and dust. When he tried to speak, only a dry rasp emerged. Sarah leaned closer, catching the faint, broken whisper. "My phone. It's dead. I can't call anyone." His words shattered in the stifling air like brittle glass. Sarah's heart ached with each syllable. She could feel the fever radiating off him, a tangible heat against the oppressive warmth of the street. She glanced up and down the block. Empty windows stared back, lifeless, uncaring. No one was coming. It seemed no one else had even seen. Without hesitation, she wiped his forehead with the hem of her sleeve, her touch feather light. "You're safe now, baby," she whispered, promising a security she wasn't sure how she'd provide. "I'm going to take care of you." The wheelchair creaked and groaned as she unhooked the brakes and began to push, the rusty bearings squealing in protest. It was a slow, agonizing journey back to her trailer. The wheels bucked and fought against every crack, every protruding tree root, but Sarah pressed on, arms burning, back aching, her heart thudding with each determined step, Buddy trailing steadfastly behind. The sun sagged lower, painting the sky in hues of deep gold and blood red, as if the heavens themselves held their breath, witnessing this small act of mercy on Oakhaven's forgotten streets. The trailer was a battered, lopsided relic, its once white paint peeled and blistered by the relentless southern sun. Metal steps rattled as Sarah carefully guided Leo's wheelchair inside, her breath coming in sharp little gasps. The air within was heavy with the comforting, familiar smells of old wood, laundry soap, and the lingering sweetness of last night's peach cobbler. Leo sagged in the chair, his skin waxy, fresh beads of sweat blooming on his forehead. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice no stronger than a moth's wing. Sarah's heart squeezed. She parked the wheelchair beside her worn couch, fussing over him gently, patting his burning cheeks with a damp cloth, tilting a glass of water to his lips. He sipped once, then turned away, his breathing shallow, labored, a faint whistle in his chest. Something was wrong. Badly wrong. Sarah felt it with a primal certainty. She darted to the kitchen counter, rummaging for her old flip phone. Her fingers shook as she dialed emergency services. The screen blinked twice, then went black. Dead. No service. Typical for Oakhaven when the wind blew wrong. Her mind raced. Leo whimpered softly, curling in on himself, his small body racked with shudders, his blue eyes glassy, unfocused. Sarah dropped the useless phone. Her gaze fell on the corner of the living room where, draped with a thin white sheet, sat her mother's old Singer sewing machine, her most treasured possession. It had stitched generations of school dresses, work aprons, dreams. It was all she had left that spoke of family, of pride. Hesitation warred with desperation. Then she moved. She yanked the cover off, bundled the heavy machine carefully, cradling it like a fragile child, and stormed out into the heat, Buddy barking anxiously at her heels. The pawnshop was 3 blocks away. "How much?" she demanded of the tired-looking clerk, setting the machine on the counter. He peered over his glasses, grunted. $50. Not enough. Not nearly. But it had to be. She snatched the crumpled bills and bolted to the pharmacy next door. Pedialyte, fever medicine, 2 small cartons of soup. Every last dollar. Then she carried Leo, his body frighteningly light, to the nearest walk-in clinic, legs trembling, breath hitching. Inside the clinic, the fluorescent lights buzzed, cold and accusing. Sarah explained Leo's condition to the receptionist, a thin woman with weary eyes, who motioned them through. As Sarah sat beside Leo, dabbing his forehead, a young nurse in crisp blue scrubs watched her from across the room, lips pinched in a suspicious line. The nurse leaned down, whispering to the receptionist, glancing sideways at Sarah, then Leo, then back again. Sarah felt that familiar weight in her chest. Judgment, fear, distrust. 15 minutes later, 2 police officers strode into the clinic, boots squeaking, radios crackling. Sarah froze. The nurse nodded towards her, whispering again. One officer, large, close-cropped hair, motioned for Sarah to stand. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us," he said, his tone flat. Sarah's mouth opened, but no sound came. She looked down at Leo. His eyelids fluttered. Then somehow, Leo found his voice, a trembling, broken thing. "No!" he gasped, his arm reaching towards her. She saved me. She saved me." The room held its breath. The officers exchanged a glance. The younger one, kinder-faced, stepped forward. "All right, ma'am. We need to verify a few things, but you can stay with the boy for now." Relief crashed over Sarah. The officers made quiet calls. Time blurred. Then a woman in a crisp black suit rushed in, heels clicking frantically. A family lawyer. Urgent, hushed conversations followed. Leo's identity was confirmed. He wasn't just any child. He was the son of Arthur Sterling, head of Sterling Enterprises, a real estate titan whose face occasionally flashed across television screens. The pieces slammed into place in Sarah's mind. She sat numbly as arrangements were made, papers signed. Leo ushered away. His small, hot hand gripped hers one last time, his cloudy eyes determined. "Don't leave," he whispered, so soft only she could hear. But she had no choice. An hour later she stood alone on the cracked sidewalk, the heat pressing down, the world blurring. With slow, dragging steps, she made her way home, Buddy limping behind. The trailer sat silent, weary. Sarah dropped her keys, sank onto the couch, buried her face in her hands, and let the hot, silent tears finally come. For 2 days, Sarah moved through a fog of routine and worry. She wiped counters that were already clean, reheated soup she forgot to eat. Leo's pale face, his small hand gripping hers, the images replayed endlessly. Had he made it home safe? Was he okay? Had he already forgotten the woman from Oakhaven? On the third morning, the air heavy with an expectant silence, a deep rumble stirred the quiet. Sarah peered through her dusty window. A black Cadillac Escalade, gleaming like a panther, rolled to a stop. The driver's door opened. A tall, broad-shouldered man in an immaculate charcoal suit stepped out. Silver at the temples, shoes shining, but the look in his eyes, tired, raw, human, cut through the polish. He approached her rickety porch steps. "Ms. Cole?" he asked, his voice deep, rich, respectful. Sarah nodded, stunned. "I'm Arthur Sterling," he said simply. "I'm Leo's father." The name hung in the air. Sarah gestured vaguely towards the porch chair. Arthur Sterling sat, his expensive shoes crunching lightly on the gravel path as he'd approached. Silence then. "Leo told me everything," he said softly. "The heat, the wheelchair, the bullies. About you." Sarah shifted uncomfortably. "I just did what anyone would do." Arthur smiled, a weary, genuine smile. "No," he said quietly. "You did what most wouldn't." He leaned forward. "My son, Leo, has a rare condition that affects his bones and energy. He's lived a sheltered life." He shook his head, a bitter laugh escaping. "That day, he just wanted to feel like a regular kid, slipped away from his driver. We were frantic. We thought the worst." His eyes met Sarah's. "But the worst didn't happen. Because of you." The words were heavy, humbling. "I'm not here just to say thank you," Arthur continued. "I want to help you. To give back what you gave my boy." Sarah shook her head immediately. "I don't need anything, sir." "That boy needed help, that's all." Arthur studied her. "That's exactly why you deserve it," he said. And somehow, under the burning Georgia sun, Sarah Cole realized that sometimes kindness doesn't just save others. It saves you too. The Cadillac was gone by mid-afternoon, but it left behind a fluttering in Sarah's chest, a feeling suspiciously like hope. She tried to return to her routine, but Arthur Sterling's quiet conviction echoed in her mind. 4 days later, as dawn painted the sky, a caravan arrived. Not one car, but a fleet of black SUVs, followed by 2 delivery trucks bearing bold gold lettering, Sterling Enterprises. They stopped before her trailer. The first to emerge wasn't Arthur, but Leo. Taller now, it seemed, in his wheelchair, a fresh energy in his eyes, his cheeks pink with health. "Miss Sarah," he called, his voice clear, strong. Sarah rushed down, tears gathering. "You look better, baby," she whispered, crouching beside him. "Because of you," Leo replied, his smile radiant. Arthur Sterling stepped from an SUV, dressed more casually. No tie, just a father. "Ms. Cole," he nodded. "Hope you don't mind unannounced visitors." Sarah managed a half-laugh, half-sob. "Reckon I've seen stranger." Arthur gestured toward the trucks. "We'd like to give back to this community, in your name, if you'll let us." Before she could respond, the wind creaked her trailer door open, revealing its chipped paint, sagging floorboards, the empty corner where the sewing machine had been. Arthur took her silence as assent. What followed felt like a dream. Neighbors spilled from their homes. Workers in matching shirts unloaded tools, lumber, paint. Hammers and drills hummed. By sundown, where the old trailer once leaned, stood a brand-new prefab cottage, small, elegant, white, with a ramp for Leo's visits and a wide front porch. But that wasn't all. A few blocks away, crews broke ground on a new youth center, filled with books, games, tutoring stations. Above its door, a sign, the Sarah Cole Youth Center. Inside her new home, Sarah found a thick envelope, a check with more zeros than she'd ever seen, and a letter from Arthur. For every life you've touched, for every kindness unseen, let this be your legacy. She sank onto a chair, the letter trembling, tears blurring the words. That night, she didn't sleep, not from worry, but from a profound, unfamiliar peace. In the following weeks, Oakhaven began to stir, to change. People talked more, lingered on porches. Teenagers who once loitered now helped paint the church fence. One of Leo's former bullies shyly asked Sarah if he could water her new flowers. She let him. Leo and Sarah kept in touch via weekly video calls. "Hi, Grandma Sarah," he'd always begin, and she'd pretend to scold, but her heart swelled. Autumn arrived, painting Oakhaven in gold and fire. Sarah sat on her new porch, rocking, a newspaper in her lap. Local Chronicle headline, "From saving one life to saving a whole town, the woman who changed Oakhaven." She shook her head, a small disbelieving smile. The article told their story. The rescue, the billionaire's gratitude, the youth center, the scholarships, the quiet revolution of goodness. Then came the invitation. Washington, D.C., the Women of Courage National Recognition Ceremony. Sarah tried to decline. Cameras, fancy dresses. But Arthur gently insisted. And Leo, during their last video chat, looked her dead in the eye. "You better be there. I've got a surprise." So a week later, Sarah stood backstage in a grand ballroom, chandeliers glittering, faces from every walk of life waiting. Her palms sweated. The MC's smooth voice announced, "Tonight, we honor a woman whose act of courage was quiet but thunderous. And to present this award, please welcome the boy she saved." The curtain parted. Leo, in a tiny tuxedo, wheeled himself proudly across the stage, a new confidence radiating from him. The crowd rose, cameras flashed, applause thundered. Leo reached the podium. "She gave me back my life," he said, his voice clear. "Now I want the world to know her name, Sarah Cole." Sarah stepped onto the stage, a gasp from the audience, not for her modest dress, but for the quiet dignity that enveloped her. Leo placed the medal around her neck, hands trembling with emotion. Sarah leaned into the microphone. "I ain't no hero," she said, her voice strong, real. "I'm just a woman who saw a boy in trouble, and I couldn't walk away." A ripple of silence. "Sometimes," she added softly, "the kindest thing you can do is stay, even when it costs you." The room erupted. That night, Sarah and Leo sipped cocoa in the hotel lobby. "Do you think things happen for a reason?" Leo asked. Sarah gazed at the city lights beyond the window. "I think," she said slowly, "that kindness is the reason." And they smiled, two souls connected by choice, not chance. Sarah's legacy wasn't just a new house or a youth center. It was etched in the hearts of a changed town, in every person who now looked at their neighbor and thought, "What if I could help?" Long after the headlines faded, that kindness remained, a quiet, enduring fire. Sarah Cole's story is a powerful testament to the ripple effect of a single act of selfless kindness. In a world that often feels fractured, her compassion bridged divides, transformed a community, and proved that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in the courage to help another human being. It reminds us that heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they carry heavy shopping bags and offer a helping hand when no one else will. What act of kindness, big or small, has impacted your life or your community? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If Sarah's journey inspired you, please hit that like button, share this video to spread the message of hope, and subscribe for more unforgettable stories of courage and compassion. Thank you for watching.